More than 250,000 Brits live full-time in the Costa del Sol, making it the biggest expat community in the world. Among them, con men, small-time crooks, and some of the biggest British drug dealers and gangsters running their criminal empires.
Hey, chef! Hey, quieto, quieto, quieto!
Every summer, they're joined by more than 500,000 British tourists hungry for the good life in the UK's #1 holiday destination. And along with them comes an orgy of booze, dope, and violence.
They fucking stabbed me.
Which raises the police workload by 300%. For more than 10 weeks, Costa del street crime had unlimited and unprecedented access to the police forces of the 6 biggest resorts as they fight the British summer crime wave. Coming up, this Brit's got a beef with the cops, but why?
Honestly, mate, put your camera on that. They're walking away, mate.
A desperate British expat has some words of warning for her daughter's abusive boyfriend.
I'm not seeing him on his own. He's fucking dead.
Taxi drivers are targeted by this topless temptress.
Are you drunk?
And Costa cops go for a late-night stroll on Lover's Lane. Benalmádena, late September. It's the end of the holiday season. However, the resort 15 miles west of Malaga is not only a popular tourist destination, but also home to thousands of British expats. Most of them are on a low income, making Benalmádena, according to some observers, the biggest council estate outside the UK. For the Polizia Locale, this means they have to deal with Brits all year round. It's 2 a.m. and Officer Juanito has just heard of trouble in Solimar Square, the main club strip in town.
We have to go on a fighter in the road, in the street, near to the disco.
On the strip, there is no sign of a fight, but fellow officers already on scene are facing an irate man.
My missus is pregnant. She's going to ring me tonight. I got my phone, and I can't get my phone back. And there's fucking 6 or 7 of these stood here, and he stood with my phone. There's something not really right. Explain. No.
This expat claims that someone stole his mobile during a brawl and disappeared into a nightclub. Unsurprisingly, the bouncers won't let him in to challenge the thief, so he now wants the cops to start a major operation, but they're hesitant.
I watched him pick it up and walk in that fucking club. The bouncer, give me that. Yes.
Tiene que hacer una denuncia en escrito en comisaría.
Yeah, fucking major. He's got my phone.
Although the man claims to know who stole his phone, he's not giving any descriptions and he's steaming drunk. So the cops refuse to do anything until he's filed a complaint at the station. It's petrol on the fire.
My phone is gone. I have watched the person pick it up, the bouncer, if that's what you want to call it, pick it up, and now I've got 6 or 7 coppers around me that will not walk into that pub and go and take it off it. I cannot now contact my missus. I cannot now contact my fucking mum or dad. But I'm going.
Fed up with his tirades, the cops decide to walk off, leaving this irate Brit with no other target for his rants other than our Spanish researcher.
No, honestly, mate, put your camera on that. They're walking away, mate. They're 6, 7 coppers walking away. That's your country. I'm not being rude here. That's your country. There's your club. An English copper now, I'm not being rude now, an English copper now would at least have had enough bollocks about him to stand at that door and ask that bouncer to produce a phone. The bouncer wouldn't have produced it, I would have been shitless. The difference is, he would have fucking walked up there and asked. Look, no, get a long zoom on, mate. Get a long zoom on. They're all walking away. That's 7, 6, 7...
Finally, the amateur Spielberg has run out of steam and our crew can escape to the police car.
He didn't describe nobody. He only said that someone have just robbed her mobile phone, but he didn't where, when, and anything. We can do anything because he didn't say exactly nothing. We can help if he say that person he have just my mobile phone. The police can do anything, but in the middle of the road, one person drunk is too easy.
So far, the man hasn't turned up at the station to file a complaint. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, officers Pinerdo and Hermida have just been signalled by a taxi to pull over.
Hola. Pecado, seguramente sí. Delito ya.
Half a minute ago, the cab driver got flashed by a woman at the side of the road. Although flashing your breast isn't technically indecent exposure, it certainly will draw a lot of attention. The cops are worried that she's disturbed.
Vamos a verlo ahora mismo, que va a quedar inmortalizada.
As the officers start their search, it quickly becomes clear that there's been quite a few victims.
Hola. Una mujer rubia, vestida de negro. Está ahí. Eso es. Gracias.
Cops are struggling to keep a straight face. Serial flashers aren't everyday fare, especially female ones who specialise in cab drivers. Suddenly, they spot someone walking along the side of the road. It's the woman, and they've caught her in the act. But she realises she's been exposing herself to the cops, not a taxi driver, and immediately gets shy. The woman doesn't seem to speak Spanish and looks very confused.
Are you drunk?
It turns out she's a Ukrainian living in Benalmadena. Over the last few years, the Costa has attracted many people from Eastern Europe, making them one of the fastest growing communities here. But the cops aren't convinced that the climate of the Costa justifies this sort of late-night flashing session and decide to cool her down by taking her to hospital. But the woman isn't impressed and wants to slope off. Under Spanish law, mentally ill people can't be arrested and prosecuted. However, police can take them to a psychiatrist. The woman seems to comply at first, but as the officers try to get her into the patrol car, she starts to resist. The cops suspect she might be an illegal immigrant. They decide to play hardball.
¿Vamos al médico o a su país ahora mismo? ¿O a su país ahora mismo? En verano no, ahora. Por favor, métase.
Bizarrely, deportation doesn't worry the woman as much as a trip to the doctors, and she starts desperately resisting the officers by taking a bite out of one of them.
Me está mordiendo. No me muerda.
And it doesn't stop there. The woman is screaming for help in Spanish and desperately wedging the door open with her feet. She's now keeping 4 cops busy trying to push and pull her into the car. But they still only manage to close one door, so one of the officers has the unfortunate job of staying with her in the back to make sure she won't jump out during the drive. With the door open, the cops can't do much more than 15 miles an hour. It's going to be a long ride to the health centre.
Una mierda, estate quieta ya.
She is a foreigner and she is drunk. She might also have some psychological issues, and she doesn't have any ID on her. So now the doctor will check her, and we will take the case to immigration. Yes, she tried to bite me, here on the arm. She didn't put her teeth in, but she tried to. She really tried.
A medical check by the doctor didn't reveal any signs of mental illness, but it turned out the woman was an illegal immigrant, so she's currently facing deportation procedures. Meanwhile, officers Andres Juarez and Juan Jose Murillo of the National Police have just discovered a suspicious vehicle on the side of a road outside town. The area is a popular dumping ground for stolen vehicles, and the cops immediately radio the number plate to the control room. The car isn't reported stolen, and it seems to belong to a rental company. Nevertheless, the cops decide to take a closer look. From the looks on their faces, there's no need to ask this couple any further questions. Tourists come to Costa for the party lifestyle and easy sex. More Viagra is sold here per head of population than anywhere else in Europe, and it's estimated that over the summer, an average 2 Brits every month die in brothels from heart attacks. Back in the town centre, there's more trouble on the Solimar club strip.
Una pareja ha requerido el apoyo de otra para identificar a una persona que presuntamente ha tirado una botella.
On scene, fellow officers are attending the victim, who's bleeding from a head wound. It seems he was hanging out with friends when a stranger hit him on the head with a paving slab. The attacker has done a runner, but for now the cops are busy keeping the nosy clubbers at bay. This rubbernecker just learned the hard way not to get in the way of Spanish cops, and he's not happy about being pushed around. Another unit radios in that they have 2 suspects in custody, but they're protecting them against the injured man's friends who are on a vigilante mission for blood. They might be friends of the injured man, but the cops are not tolerating any disorder. The officers suspect that the 2 men are responsible for throwing the stone into the crowd on the square, so they're both coming in on suspicion of assault. Back on the square, the injured man has been bleeding heavily. The paramedics are concerned that he might have suffered concussion, so they take him and his girlfriend straight to hospital. The arrested men were later released on bail. It's 6 a.m. In the neighbouring package resort of Fuengirola, Officer Sanchez has just stopped a man for mouthing off in the street, but he doesn't want to show his ID, which is compulsory in Spain. Spanish cops use the odd slap to reinforce their authority, but in this case their hands-on approach seems to have backfired. The wired-up Moroccan thinks he's a victim of police injustice, but all his shouting is just alerting more cops.
Pero que no me pegue, tío. Que te calles. Que no me pegue, igualmente, ¿verdad? Que te calles. Me da igual. Que te calles ya. ¿Qué pasa? Porque el policía que te calles. Ah, ¿qué pasa? ¿Que por qué el policía me va a pegar? Que te calles.
The cops have had enough of this early morning kerfuffle, which is waking up the residents, so the man is detained and carted off to the police station. He's later fined €300. Still to come, a British mum reaches boiling point after a domestic.
I'm not seeing he's fucking dead.
And a Spanish driver gets carried away after his office party.
Probably he's drunk. He's driving drunk.
The Costa del Sol is not only home to the biggest British expat community in the world. With more than 500,000 tourists every summer, it's also the UK's #1 holiday destination. And with Brits packing the beaches and flooding the resort, the police workload explodes by 300%. Costa del Street crime had unlimited and unprecedented access to the police forces of the 6 biggest resorts, and is right at the forefront of their battle against the British summer crime wave. Coming up, family relations come to a head.
I'm not seeing he's fucking dead.
And Europe's most dangerous road claims another victim.
Mira la huella.
The coastal highway linking all the resorts along the costa is reputed to be the most dangerous road in Europe. 100 people die on it every year. At 7 a.m, officers Vicente Benasco and Jose Duran have just had news of a crash outside Benalmádena.
We have an accident with some person ill in the cars, perhaps, in the highway.
The fire brigade and police are already on scene, and it looks like this could be a horrendous accident. A driver lost control of his car, swerved over the barrier and plummeted 50 feet down the rocky mountain slope into a building site.
Mira la huella.
The car is a total wreck and the driver is still inside. The firemen, or bomberos as they're called in Spain, have already started their rescue operation. The battery needs to be removed so that a spark can't ignite the petrol. Next, it's a question of getting a man out of the car. And it's good news. Luckily, the firemen have managed to open the door without any problems. In accidents like these, they regularly have to use hydraulic levers and electric saws to get people out of wrecks. With paramedics on scene, they immediately attend to the driver. A quick check and they've got some amazing news.
Nada, aparentemente está muy bien. Otro afortunado, ¿eh? Sí.
It seems a miracle that the driver survived the crash without major injuries.
Subiendo por aquí, iba en tercera. Subiendo no sé, pero para allá, por lo menos 170 habéis puesto. 180 casi, porque nos subíamos a 160 y tanto y no andaba mal el coche.
The cops suspect the man was driving at more than 100 miles an hour, almost 30 miles an hour over the speed limit, while tucking into his breakfast baguette. On one of the highway's tight bends, he hit the curb and lost control of the car.
Sí, sí, ha pegado primero en aquel lado allí. Tiene la huella cruzando la carretera entera, no se descarrile. Hay que ver lo que ha hecho con el coche, tío.
In the back of the car, the cops discover a child seat.
No, mira. Da para adelante, sí, le da para pero lo dobla para adelante. Pero es que mira dónde está la cabeza del niño. Hombre, depende de la altura del niño también, claro.
Es una silla supletoria, ¿eh?
Depende.
It later turned out the man was returning from a night shift. He was on his way to pick up his child. The driver had a double escape. Not only did he survive the accident without major injuries, but if this had happened half an hour later, he would have had his child with him. After a short stay in hospital, the man made a full recovery. It's now 3 a.m. and officers Benasco and Parejo have just been called to a domestic. A British woman has just phoned the police claiming her daughter is being beaten by her boyfriend and needs urgent help.
Buenas. Déjalo. ¿Qué apartamento es?
534.
It's not the first time the officers have been called to this family.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
The mother who's been drinking is waiting outside the flat the teenage daughter is renting with her boyfriend.
No hay, ¿no? Seguro.
It seems her daughter asked her for help, but now she doesn't want to file a complaint.
If that's what you want, don't come crying to my door no more. I got work in the morning and I've come up trying to get you out. Well, you're fine in future, but you still come to my door no more. I got work in the morning and I'm up to this time and I'm at work at 10:30. Trying to help you because you came crying to me. They're out, no shoes on, out on the street, smacking her all. Last week she came to me, she bruises all down here, all down her legs.
Meanwhile, Officer Parejo is talking to the boyfriend. The young couple have a baby together. According to him, he and his family are taking good care of his 17-year-old girlfriend and their baby.
Que mi madre entregó 2.500 euros en un apartamento y no se lo hemos pedido ni nada. O sea, ella le ha comprado un carro también a la niña, se lo tengo muy agradecido también. Pero que me tiene que decir yo soy malo.
She don't need this. She don't need this. She can come home. And now, all over him, she's being right with him. She's beating her up.
Realising her daughter won't leave her boyfriend tonight and go back with her, the woman decides to give up, but not without a final warning to the young father.
When I see him on his own, he's fucking dead.
The cops have had enough of this late-night soap opera and decide to leave.
Jesus, rent money? Sorry for wasting your time.
Don't worry about that. No worries. We have been here before with the same problem. And this time, like always, she says that there's no problem. She loves him so much and they're going to stay together. We don't see anything wrong and no injuries in her. That's why we ask if she needs anything of us, and she says that no.
With one woman every week getting killed by her partner, the Spanish government has recently introduced a new law giving the police extra powers to arrest domestic offenders. But in this case, the woman did not want to file a complaint, and the police were satisfied there was no evidence of domestic violence. On one of the main exit roads from the town centre, officers Benasco and Parejo have just spotted a suspicious driver.
We crossed with that car and we saw his face. Probably he's drunk, he's driving drunk. And now he didn't stop in the traffic lights in red.
According to the cops, the man was passing them with his head slumped to one side and not focusing on the road. Every year, 5,600 people die in traffic accidents in Spain's roads. Half of them are caused by drink driving. The officers are eager to pull him over. As Officer Parejo gets the man out of the car, it's clear he's been drinking. He reeks of alcohol. He's clearly had more than a couple, but he doesn't seem to realise how much trouble he could be in. Parejo's had enough of the man's cocky attitude, so Benasco sets him straight. The man isn't happy about losing his car. It's 5 a.m. and he starts work in an hour and a half. Although he's steaming drunk, he seems to think he'll be in a fit state to drive by then. It looks like he'll have to take the train to work with one hell of a hangover. But before he makes it to the train station, he'll have a stopover at the police station for a breath test. Ironically, this is exactly where he'll be appearing if he fails his breath test. And as it appears this is not the first time he's been caught, he could be facing a hefty fine and a ban, as well as having his car impounded.
A week ago, our partner saw him the same way, driving under influence of alcohol. And then he will get in problems now, because if the result is positive, the judge will condemn him with a fine around 600 euros or 900 euros and arrest his driving license for around 1 year.
After a breath test, the man was found to be over the limit and he's currently awaiting his court appearance.